Okay, hold on. Twitch is acting crazy. Okay. Okay, we are live. I got Jason is out of town this week. That's all right. We got Fedora Khan in the house. My man, my manga friend, my Pokemon expert, the master from the East Coast. Joining me. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. To all you
Beast
mothers.
Coast.
East Coast, West. We got an East Coast, West Coast situation going on. This is basically going to be his show today. You saved me some time. You saved me some mind work. So I'm just going to kind of relax, kick back, and listen to you kind of educate everyone on a lot of manga stuff, a lot of Pokemon, some RPG subjects. Bro, I don't even know how long we've been like homies on Instagram, but it feels like a long time.
Two years, 3 years,
Years.
a few years, a few years.
I gotta say, like, in regards to like your Instagram, your knowledge about just like everything that I just don't know a damn clue about or have very little knowledge about, because either it surpassed me in age, or just like I just don't know where to start, really. I feel like you've really helped me kind of like show me what to look for in like regards to the hobbies that you're an expert in. And like, bro, you'll just send me like a random like Pokemon like card, like, look at this one for, and I'll just be like, holy shit, like, where the hell did I didn't even heard of that card? Like, what set is that? And you know it to a T. And obviously, like, we were talking, I think, a year ago, maybe it wasn't that not long ago, but we got pretty passionate about like just the hobby of comic books in general, and how a lot of channels, I don't say a lot, but there are some select channels, Instagram accounts, what have you, that promote just kind of stuff that
Like a pump and dump. They
pump
got
and
that
dump,
a Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi scheme, whatever you want to call it.
Yo, if you buy this hot book, man,
it's gonna go up like $50 in 2 weeks and that type of thing. Whatever. It is what it is. And in the reality of it is they're the books that we've wanted to talk about, or we have talked about with each other, are more of those rare like books. Like you hit me up with that Carpe Noctem #1 first appearance, Johnny Homicidal Maniac, and I didn't get a 9.8 out of it, but I thought it was a deep dive for me as far as information wise, to kind of be like, oh, I gotta look for that stuff that's just like,
or even like that X23 variant that's more expensive
Christ,
than the
man.
first appearance.
We were going crazy. I'll like, dude, that put me in a deep dive for all those variants in that whole year. Like the Uncanny X-Force #1, I bought a couple of copies of those, but those are more of like, it's a very niche like collector's market, right? For those X23s, those Uncanny X-Forces. But it's kind of like what we were saying. It's probably what those not flippers, but like those puppet dumpers are probably actually like, no, don't talk about those books.
No, yeah, for sure, for sure.
So,
Like they're selling the pump and dump books. They're holding the money, and then they're buying up slowly like the niche, like those niche variants that no one gave a damn about back in like 2008,
exactly.
2009.
Yeah. And or just even like 2016, 2017, or like freaking last week. You know what I mean? Like, I will never try and ever sell a buy it now price for a comic that came out less than a year ago. I'll let the market.
I'm watching you guys. We're on your head. We're
The
on
door
your
is up
head.
there, man.
Yeah, no, I'm watching everything. I'm like everybody, every seller, every person, everybody. I'm watching all of you. I'm watching what y'all selling, what y'all doing, who y'all interacting with, everything.
That's right.
And I'm looking at prices too.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of which made me kind of excited about this show today. Like legitimately, obviously our passion for comics kind of brought us together. Kind of talking about stuff and kind of our interactions or whatnot. But I really wanted to get into what you know a lot about, which is Pokemon, manga. Not so much as just the market, but just like what like the quality of stuff to look for.
And even like just really good stories. Just
Yeah,
really good stories.
Because like that's what gets you into the hobby, is like the actual foundation of reading the book or playing the game or being into the lore, the artwork, right? And there's just so much I don't know about when it comes to like the anime Pokemon side of it. And
Mm,
like you're always my reference for everything. So I appreciate you coming through the show today. We were kind of talking backstage, and if we got, if time equates to us or just makes it, available, we may do like a separate show, like once a month, just have you on,
mm,
depending on time and like schedules and everything. I mean, you're on the East Coast, so I appreciate you coming through.
of
It's like
course.
almost 5 o'clock over there, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, my girlfriend just ran out to have like dinner with her mom, so I'll be joining them after the show.
Okay,
So
cool. Yeah, we won't
yeah,
keep you too long, man. But this is, I
no,
mean, like I
it's
said,
fine.
man, this is your show today, so we'll see what you
But, sh-
got.
but shout out to everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Thompson, aka Fedora Kong. I also know a lot about Donkey Kong. But yeah, I read everything, like anything you could possibly think of: foreign comics, Korean comics, Japanese comics, American comics, Brazilian comics, like whatever is out there, I read it. I also have read an insanely god's amount of manga since I was like a little kid. So I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm an expert, but I pretty much know the baseline of like everything, like any collecting hobby, except for vinyls. Those are my girlfriend's vinyls. Those
Those
aren't.
are tight. Those are very, very cool, man.
That's like first print of Corn, Follow the Leader, like all these. She's like a huge Corn fan, so she's like into like Corn and I guess Bad Bunny.
That's
That
cool.
Bad Bunny, yeah. She opens them, like, I catch
Yeah,
heart attacks, like, why are you opening them?" And she's like, "To listen to them, bro."
yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
From you were talking about like my post over the weekend. I was going the east part of the state, kind of to like
"Mm,
farm country or whatever, and I was just on my phone, just kind of curious about old school emo pop, 2000s, like something corporate,
mm."
like all that type of stuff. Some 41. That was kind of my college listening bands, and yeah, for sure. You want sealed if you're trying to talk monetary value. But
She doesn't
what
she doesn't care.
but
She opens that shit.
what was cool though was there were still like for something corporate, which is a very, I don't know if you've heard of them before,
I
but
I I know who they are.
okay. So like their first vinyls opened actually go for like triple digits, which I thought was like kind of cool. So it's like,
Didn't they
oh,
do the song "Such Great Heights"?
I don't know if they did that
No,
song.
that was the
Sounds
Postal
familiar.
Service. Never mind, that was Postal Service.
Oh, Postal was like post college for me. So Postal Service was what's his face? Who's the Postal Service dude? What's his name? Ben Harper,
No,
right? Ben something.
I wasn't really into Postal Service.
Okay, yeah. I knew a girl that used to like them, but their concept was kind of weird. So back then they would send letters to each other about what songs they would write, and they would that's what they're called, the Postal Service. And that was back in the day when this is not happening at all. So very
Mm,
different kind of thing.
that is sort of.
But I thought what was kind of interesting was people were actually buying open up vinyl that was not sealed. So probably to listen to, which is kind of cool. I thought that was kind of cool. But
I don't know. The collector in me, it hurts.
right. The collector and you and I, like, it's like, yeah, it hurts like when you open whatever, but like
She's also like a huge Bad Bunny fan, and like I know that like Bad Bunny is kind of like he's on fire WWE, like and he does like a limited run of vinyls, like very limited, and she bought his limited edition vinyl and
mhm,
she opened it
opened
and I
it.
freaked out and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Get
And then
another
she's
one. Get another one.
yeah, and she's like, "Nah, like whatever," and I'm just like, "Why would you?" And
It's
then
all
she's
right.
like, "Dude, it's."
We'll try and get Mr. next time to get two instead of just one. But
Yeah, no, I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna.
I'm gonna share your Instagram page real quick with the community. If you guys are not following FedoraCon,
Yeah,
um,
this is me. Send me a follow and message me. If you want to talk about what manga you want to read or values on like cards. I'm not really an expert on modern cards. I'm more on the vintage side. So if you want to speak vintage, we could talk, man. I'm a friendly dude. I love making new
very,
friends.
very
When you
friendly,
come
man.
to New York City, you hit your boy up. We'll go to all the spots, the anime spots, the Pokemon card spots, the whatever spot you want to go.
Yeah,
Hit me up. I'll take you. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna keep
I
my
was
secrets.
I was gonna we I had a busy week that day when I was up in New York a year and a half ago, or yeah, it was like a year and a half ago. But I will come up again. I got
Mhm.
family in Jersey, so next time for sure. Probably when
You,
it's
you got to
warmer,
meet
man.
the you got to meet that the old legend. He's this guy. I'm pretty sure our guys in the chat know who he is. If you're from New York City, his name is Howard Fleischer. He sells heat for like nothing. Like
Yeah.
he sold me like a newsstand X not a newsstand Wolverine one, the limited edition one for $40, and it was like immaculate condition. And I'm like, why are you selling me this for $40? And he's like, listen, kid, take the fucking deal. All right. Like I don't just take it. And I'm like, all right. And then I like and then he had like a Batman Beyond #1, like the first appearance, the W like the animated one that people are going crazy for now. And he was like, yo, $60 right now. This book is gonna go on fire soon. And I'm like, I'll pass. And he's like, look, dude, I tell people to buy shit all the time, and then no one ever listens to me. And then I came back and I was like, yo, you got that? And then he's like, he's like, get out of here. I told you to buy it like 6 months ago. So Howard Fleischer, that dude's definitely a guy that's like,
Yeah.
he's when you talk about like community legends, like he's like a legend in the New York City area just for selling flipping comics. Like
He's the
a
dude, huh?
beast. Yeah, he is. You got to
Yeah.
meet him.
Cool, man. Well, let's get into your presentation here. So, yeah, some I honestly don't know like close to 1% of the stuff you're talking about. That's how much I know, which is okay, at least for me. But yeah, let's get into these magazines you're talking about, man.
So, Weekly Shonen. So, what is Weekly Shonen? So, Shonen Jump is honestly like they're like the Marvel of Japan, kind of in a
Okay.
sense. And so the way Japan distributes their comics is each company. I mean, there's Kondasha, there's Yen Press, there's Shonen Jump, there's all these other people that. So every week they have a compilation book of all of their artists, all of their creators, and
Hmm.
they do one. We call them issues. They call them episodes. So they
Okay.
do like one episode for each series
Huh.
in one book. So it'll be like how like Image has those Image Presents books, and then they have like kind of like
Yeah.
a preview. So it's kind of like that,
Hmm.
but they give you the full issue. So that's pretty much what it is, and it releases every week. And so you buy it every week, and you stay up to date. Whereas in over here, we do once a month, and then we
Hmm.
do separate. We'll have separate books. They put all their stuff in like a compilation kind of deal. So that's the weekly shonen magazines, and they're really popular for having some of the most iconic characters. As you can see, Luffy, Hajime no Ippo, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. So I think that there's a niche market for these books that not a lot of people really talk about, and I'm very surprised that not more shows were talking about them. So I wanted to kind of just let everybody know, like, hey, like this is kind of like what these first appearances are selling for. So you can just hit us with the next slide. So this is Weekly Shonen Jump 1984, issue
Hmm.
51, the first appearance of everybody's favorite Goku, man. Like this is kind of the iconic anime character,
Right.
and he's kind of like the Superman of Japanese manga and anime, and not in terms of like Superman in power, but
Yeah.
in how we know
Popularity.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
popularity. So on the high end, it's going for nearly 3 grand.
Hmm.
On the low end, it's going for 1,500, depending on condition, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't. It's hard to tell because I don't really know how much people factor in condition with these books. Like that's something that I need to do more research on. Like, do people care about condition And is it like I don't know. I mean, I guess
Mhm.
people do care about condition because, one price is higher than the other.
Yeah.
But, obviously this is Goku.
Yeah.
So, this is the guy. I don't know if you have any thoughts on what you think the pricing is, if you think it's off, if you think, you
Man, I
know
mean, like, so my kind of experience with anime and Pokemon, I mean, the first anime I ever saw, I think I told you, and you had like no idea who it was, which kind of shows you our kind of introduction into the hobby, right? I left the hobby in 2001 after I was done watching Dragon Ball Z, but my first anime I ever saw was Akira,
okay, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
that was old when I watched it in 96, 97. And kind of my experience with anime. So, like, you watch all anime probably digital, right? I'm assuming, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
majority of it, right?
Well,
So
when I was a
literally,
kid, I was doing VHS, but as you were saying.
yeah. So like literally, like you'd have to go down to specialty imports, VHS store. You buy the subtitled version for like $35 and 97, and that's a lot of money back then for a high school
35
kid.
bucks?
$35, dude. Yeah, and it was it was Japanese, it was import,
Was
price,
that
all that.
brand new?
Brand new, dog. Yeah, brand new.
Yeah, I was going to, like, the Chinatown area when I was in high school, and they were,
Mhm.
like, 20 bucks, but they might have been used. They might have been,
Yeah, I
like,
mean, all of
used
these
or
were, like, imported from Japan, and
oh,
it
okay.
it was, like, 2 or 3 years old, right? Because back then, the mid-90s, everything was, like, it took forever to get here, right? And all that stuff.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, what's up, Zen Master? Thanks for coming through, man. Um, yeah, so you'd watch that one anime, like, 50 times because you
You
gotta
get, like,
save up
3
your lunch
episodes.
money, or whatever it was, because like, it was hella expensive. And so, that's why I got out of the hobby because of basically the cost of a $35 VHS back in 97, 98. That's a lot of dough, man.
Yeah, and I think that, like, that's kinda why, like, back in the day, even when I was in, like, middle school, high
Yeah,
school, in, like, the early 2000s, you know, like, the entry level for a lot of us kids
yeah,
were it was the financial barrier just to even get in was insane.
it's
So I
tough.
remember me and my friends, we were putting in our own money just
Sure.
to buy 1 DVD to see
Yep,
3 episodes.
yep,
And
exactly,
then
man.
it wasn't until my cousin, I think, she begged her parents because she was doing good in school, and
Mhm.
then she got, like, 1 Christmas present, and then she was like, "Look, I don't want any Christmas presents, I just want you to get the anime network for me so I could watch anime."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And then they were like, "That's it?" And then she was like, "Yeah," and they were like, "Yo, no birthday present? Like,
Nothing?
this is mad expensive
Yeah.
every month." And they're like, "Okay, okay, okay." She was like, "Yeah." So we would go to her house on the weekends to watch all the new stuff. And, so that's what we had to do, but I think now it's so easily accessible that a lot of people who just
Kids.
couldn't pay for it,
Kids especially
now.
too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
so
I think that's important to, like, so you're, like, so I'm 40, I'll be 41 in a couple weeks. You're, like, 10 years younger than me.
yeah, yeah,
And
I am.
so that's another reason I wanted to get you, to kinda discuss with you because, like, your experience with animes is like kind of similar to me, but like
Mhm.
different in scope of like Akira was like 10, 12 years old when I first saw it, but it was new to me and it got me into that stuff. But like for you, that's like a golden oldie. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
age wise, you know what I'm saying? So and when you were getting into it, I was getting out because I was like,
Yeah,
man, I
well,
can't.
we when I was like, we knew of Akira
Yeah,
when we were kids, but
it
I don't
wasn't
I don't
probably shoved down your
nah,
throat though, like for
no.
me. You know what I
I
mean?
think it was like I think the 3 big ones was Dragon Ball Z, Inuyasha,
See, I
and
don't even
I
know what
wanna say
Oyasha is. And Fist of the North
Inuyasha,
Star
I
was big
think
too.
Fist of the
Frank
North Star,
Garcia.
always big. Fist of
Yeah.
the North Star was, like, always kinda something that we all knew.
Mhm.
Um, and then it was, Yu Yu Hakusho, that was, like, a big one.
Yeah.
That was a huge one.
So to answer
And
so to answer your question in regards to do I think that's a good price? I mean, I feel like it is because it's like like Dragon Ball Z, I know Dragon Ball
mhm.
Z, my nephew knows Dragon Ball Z. So it's like it's kind of like compared to like Mario for
Yeah, 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 yeah.
every
For
you know what I
sure,
mean?
for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So I think man like I think like 5 grand would be a good price cuz and it's also it's foreign and I think
Could
I
you
think
even grade that? If you sent
I
that to
don't think you
CGC?
can. I don't think you can. I was gonna ask you. I was gonna inquire, not inquire, but I was thinking about that. Like, you probably can't grade it, but I feel like it's one like Japanese culture. It's like they everything's precious. I mean, like, everything's done in quality, right? So I
Mhm.
feel like culture wise, that's accepted kind of thing where they don't want to grade it. They want to be able to read through it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know though. Maybe in the future though, it would be a thing. It would make sense, right?
Yeah,
But
we should probably contact CGC. They're
I
great
know,
guys.
dude, man. I'm still trying to hit them up about my Michael Jordan like first appearance, and they haven't hit me back yet. So we'll hold up on them. But this next slide, I wanted to kind of go in. I wanted to really let you have it explain to me because I tried watching 2 episodes of this One Piece. I couldn't get into it,
Not
but I
it.
know it's a good anime supposedly.
It
Go for it, man.
when was
Explain.
I was in high school when like One Piece was getting. I feel like One Piece didn't really hit its stride until like in America at least until like the 2010s. So I
Mhm.
think like in the 2010s was like when Naruto, One Piece, really started to kind of blow up like on a crazy level. Um, I even as a kid, never really been the shonen kind of guy. Like
Mhm.
I just like it just never really appealed to me. Like to give you a perspective, the
Yeah.
first manga I read when I was a kid was Berserk because some kid got it from his older brother and he let me borrow it.
That's
You
always how
know?
it worked out too, man. Someone's older brother would always hook you up with
Yeah,
stuff. That's so
yeah.
funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then he brought a Berserk VHS to the computer lab and we watched it. And we were like 12-year-olds like watching just people get cut in half in like the computer lab and stuff like that. And the teacher was like, yeah, yeah, whatever. It's just a cartoon.
Yeah.
But that was like like ultra violent, ultra mature themes. So like when I saw, you know, uh this One Piece, I'm like, this is for kids. Like I'm like whatever. But I mean, One Piece is like huge, right? They're doing collaborations with Vans. They're like they have some of the biggest global reach that
Sure.
rivals Dragon Ball Z.
Sure.
And I think One Piece might even be bigger than Naruto.
Why
Uh
what's the draw with One Piece in your opinion?
I think that like a lot of new people are getting into anime
Mhm.
and kind of like they don't know where to start. So obviously like this is kind of like a starting point for like a lot of like new fans. Like a lot of just people just wanting to get into it.
Yeah.
And like that's, the recommended. But I know that like One Piece in Japan is like on Disney level with merchandising. I know like
Yeah.
the merchandising is ridiculous. Um so I think the appeal is like it's mainstream and it's beloved, so anything that I feel like, in my opinion, that has, like, a good mainstream reach is gonna be easily accessible. The story is easy to follow, the character designs are simplistic and it's easy to recognize, it's a
Okay.
a dude with a straw hat, like
Yeah.
so I think 1,500 is it's a good price. I don't see any. I honestly, when I was doing some research, I thought it would be more. I thought it would be
Oh,
like 2 grand, 3 grand, but 1,500, man, like, this is kind of a grail for some people, for
sure.
some
Okay.
collectors that I see, like in the shonen collecting groups that I see and things like that. Um, Obviously, I feel like if I had to choose, I'd probably pick Dragon Ball, mainly because that one would probably, in my opinion, get more.
Mhm.
But I like it. I like the price. I like the price. I like the character, even though I'm not really a huge fan of One Piece. But
Yeah.
to each their own. I don't.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to discriminate on anybody who loves One Piece, and a lot of people who love it.
Yeah.
But definitely, like Uniqlo has like One Piece shirts. I know
I
they
seen
were
him
doing
there. Yeah, yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea, like this is mainstream. Uniqlo, Vans, like
Mhm.
I know there's a company called Hypeland. I think they did the One Piece collection, but I'm not too sure. But their reach, it might rival that of Dragon Ball Z. So
That's
um,
that's That's phenomenal to me because like I tried watching one of the shows
Mm.
and I just couldn't get into it. And then I started watching Demon Slayer and I was like,
Yeah,
this is like my kind of stuff. But
yeah.
like you said, to teach his own. I just, coming from like my manga anime type of like experience, like I
Mm.
like that kind of like evil monster, vampire, that type of stuff, or
Yeah, yeah.
like
So you like
ninja type shit.
the dark the
Very
dark
dark. Yeah, yeah.
shonen. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen,
Okay.
Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man. Like
Chainsaw Man's cool. Yeah, I like that
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
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 So this is the first appearance of uh I would say that like this one is Yu-Gi-Oh was like big for like a lot of people. Um I feel like this is what put the hobby of trading cards like on the map. I know Pokemon, a lot of people, say like Pokemon, you know, obviously, but Pokemon was like global. It put like really everything on the map, like
Mhm.
RPGs, trading cards, whatever. But for a while, like Yu-Gi-Oh definitely like was killing it. Like it was rivaling Pokemon, like the Pokemon
Yeah.
TCG.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, I think that Pokemon made the trend of trading cards for kids like a
Mhm.
big deal, but
Yeah.
I think Yu-Gi-Oh solidified it that like trading cards as a hobby is like it's here to stay. It's not
Yeah.
going anywhere. Um, so just looking at it like 600, this is like if you're looking to like invest in something, I think that this is like a good investment piece. Like
Yeah.
just to get like a good ROI. Like there's no way I feel in my opinion that like this is ever gonna go down. This is like on a low end, like 350, on a
Mhm.
high end, 650. This is dope. Like it's a dope piece. Like the art is sick. You got Yami, you got Yugi in the front, and it's the multiple first appearances. You got Grandpa, Joey, and also like this didn't even start as a trading card. Uh
Oh, it didn't?
no, it was just
Okay.
about a kid who found the Millennium Puzzle and was just playing games with like just he was just supposed to be good at any game he played.
Mhm.
And he was getting his friends out of jams. Uh and there was one episode where one of his friends got kidnapped and then she was held at gunpoint or something. I don't really remember,
Mhm.
but he confronts the kidnapper, and then he's like, "Let's play a game. Hold this lighter." And then towards the end of it, because I don't really remember it, I'm just like trying to remember it. He sets the dude on fire. Like it's crazy. It was like really adult, really dark, and there was an episode in season 0 where Kaiba made his first appearance and he had green hair, and they
Uh-huh.
played the Yu-Gi-Oh card game that we know now, and there was a huge reception with the fans. They liked the card game. They wanted to see more of it. So that they made the season 1 about the card game, and then that's how Yu-Gi-Oh was born. So if
Yeah.
anybody wants to see season 0, I highly, highly recommend it. It's it's a crazy, crazy trip that like it's dark.
So the funny thing was, when I was introduced to this game, the card game, I
Mm.
never knew it was like anything prior to it. I was reading, I think it was like my third or like one of my last purchases of Scry magazine. Now, I don't know if you guys know what Scry magazine is, but
I have no
it
idea what
was
that
like
is.
it was like the Bible for Magic the Gathering, Star Wars, and Star Trek.
Oh.
Like it was like Beckett, but it was done in a better way because they have articles of like this is how you play this game or this game's coming out, and they would
Mhm,
highlight all these different trading card games. But kind of like I would say my generation that either was going to college or just graduate out of just trading card games and maybe into video games like Gran Turismo,
mhm.
Metal Gear, that kind of thing, right?
So that was
Um,
like the 90s.
late 90s, right? So
Mm,
97, 98, right? So I remember reading about this game and I was like, oh gosh, like whoever's licensing this game is just trying to it's just
trying to get the bag.
they're marketing it as the next Pokemon. And whenever you hear like the next insert,
Pokemon. Get the fuck
yeah,
out of here.
they're just trying to like, I was like, dude, that's so lame. Like, I'm done with trading card games, and so I stopped playing Magic. I stopped playing. I never got into Pokemon. I was too old for Pokemon. But I thought it was corny, honestly. And little did I know, like, it's still. I mean, we're 2023. 20 some years later. I think, at least in the Seattle area, and again, I left the hobby, right? So
Mm.
I felt like it didn't really grow as much in other parts of the country than in Seattle. I may be totally wrong, but I think it's pretty amazing that, for one, it's had a consistent kind of growth, right? Like it didn't have that crazy climb and then descent and then back up,
Yeah.
right? It's a more organic growth of a of a
Yeah.
of a
So
series.
when I was a kid,
Yeah,
nobody really played Pokemon cards. We kind of just collected them and traded
right.
them, whatever. We never played it.
Mm,
Um, and I think that when the anime came out,
hmm.
and then we got to see the people play the cards,
Yeah,
we that's what made everybody really go out and wanna learn to play Ninja Scroll. I like Ninja Scroll, definitely Ninja
I
Scroll
still
was
have
the
my VHS Ninja Scroll. It's not sealed, but I still have it. Like there's a way you could, you cut the bottom so the plastic still stays on it on the video cassette. I still have it somewhere around here. But yeah,
the
Ninja Scroll is the
Ninja.
shit.
They showed Ninja Scroll at a theater in New York City recently. Like,
Really?
yeah, they show Ninja Scroll in, like, some theaters every now and again,
Mhm.
I know, like, a lot of, like, these theaters on, like, West 4th, like, these indie theaters, they're showing, like, a lot of, like, old anime movies now, like Legend of the Overfiend, Ninja Scroll, so kinda like the cult classics, but yeah. So, Naruto right here, the first appearance of everybody's favorite ninja. Um, man, what could I say? Like, Naruto is while I do think that, like, One Piece is bigger, I feel like Naruto is more of a celebrity's favorite anime character, if that makes any sense. Like, you like Megan the Stallion. I know she's like a huge, like, big rapper. She's a huge fan. I know a lot of basketball players really like Naruto, and I know
Jamal
UFC
Williams.
Jamal Williams. Yep.
Yeah.
Zion Williams. I know he did
Oh,
a sneaker uh, with the Rasengan thing there. UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. He's like a
oh,
huge
really?
Naruto fan. Yeah, yeah, man.
Huh.
Like, I feel like a lot of celebrities really, a lot of just athletes in general really resonate with the character, and I think that's, like, cool, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, he's like really like merchandised just on like a clothing aspect. Like I
Yeah.
see like a lot of clothes with him, Hypeland.
Bait.
I know
Bait. I think Bait
Bait.
does it. Yeah.
I mean, who hasn't, done like a
Yeah.
Naruto
Can I
collaboration at
can I
this
ask
point?
you can I ask you a question? This is not hella funny, but people in the chat probably laugh at me too. Mr. Ken Chain uh is probably gonna laugh at me. What is Naruto? Like what's the story, man? Like what's it about?
Uh, Naruto is pretty much like about some ninjas who are training to be the best. I mean, it's typical baseline, shonen. Like, I feel like every shonen has like I want to be the best at X,
See?
so I'm gonna train
He's like,
hard.
what the fuck?
You know, uh, but I think it was kind of the first one to kind of do it on like a shonen level, and just
Okay.
be really good at telling like
Okay.
a consistent story.
That's cool. I just I know you hear about it mainstream and it kind of gets you curious, right? To like, oh man, maybe I want to like get into this anime, and then you kind of forget about it. But now the fact that I kind of know what it's about, I guess that's interesting to me. Um, yeah, I'm excited. It excites me about doing this show because like I don't know enough about manga. I'm getting into
I
the
don't
Demon
know
Slayer
enough
stuff.
about Naruto
Oh, you don't?
at all.
I mean, it
No,
sounds like you do, right? So, but
I know the middleweight champion was fighting with like some guy, and then he threw a kick, and then he blocked it, and then he did like a pose that like a Naruto character does.
oh, that's fucking
Yeah,
hilarious.
and then I was like, "What a What a weeb. So,
um,
so here's the next slide. Can we speculate on weekly shonen magazines? How can we spec on them? And what are some keys to help you get started?
okay, cool.
So,
I think people are gonna like this section for sure.
so for me, like when I spec on a series, right?
Hmm.
You want to get in on it early. So for me, I'm reading something. I read a manga, and then I'm like, okay, this seems like it could be cool, you know. So you want to get something that's more or less like everybody's talking about,
Hmm.
and then once the anime comes out, you know, then that's when you could kind of dictate whether or not this is like a good buy. So obviously everybody's mentioning Demon Slayer in the chat.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and here it is, like sealed, brand new, fresh, $141, and you know, opened obviously on the low end 50. Now this is fantastic. Like this is like a fantastic like speculation. And obviously for as big as Demon Slayer is, season 3 just came out. Everybody's going crazy for it. It you know, Demon Slayer is so big that it's overshadowing some really, really, really good anime. It's overshadowing anime like Heavenly Delusion, Hell's Paradise, which I think those two are like really phenomenal stories, much better than Demon Slayer. No disrespect to anybody that likes Demon Slayer, but that's the effect that Demon Slayer has. It's it's red hot right now, and for 48 bucks, it's like it's for something that I feel like, in my opinion, could potentially be like a $200-300 book, you know, in the long run.
Hmm.
I think you'd be a fool not to buy this.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's foreign too. So like it's 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 you always have to worry about foreign like anything. Like when you even when you buy a comic from like Great Britain or like,
Mm.
overseas, like you gotta pay that
Oh,
tax,
that
you know,
premium.
yeah, the premium and all that stuff. Um we have stores here in Seattle that you can get Japanese like, imported stuff. I'm sure there's tons in New York as well.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
have a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of that, but if you want to get those first appearances and all that stuff, I'm sure it's pretty tough.
The we have Kinokuniya, but I don't know if they sell weekly shonen there. I'm not really in the foreign section of
Uh-huh.
Kinokuniya,
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure they have like a weekly shonen section.
cool.
But then at that point you really gotta know like,
All your
okay,
stuff.
this creator is coming out with this, so I'm here to speculate on that. So I gotta, you know, but I
Right, right.
mean
Yeah.
that's a level of information that I don't
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
it's
have.
all good. Real quick, I'm just gonna do our service report for the day. If you guys aren't doing this, I'd really appreciate if you would, and follow Fedora Con as well. But yeah, if you guys could all do this, that'd be awesome. That's fun. Okay, cool. All right, next slide. Okay, never mind.
Wait,
Uh
can you see it?
I can't see it. No. There's a
No.
slide missing, or image not found, but it's all good.
Nah, yeah, we could still do it. So this is Chainsaw Man.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Cool, cool.
so pretty much Chainsaw Man. It had one bid sold for $56 and a buy
Yeah.
it now for 70. So obviously Chainsaw Man is like the new kid on the block. So it was like really, really red hot. I see like a lot of Chainsaw Man cosplays. A lot of people really, really like Chainsaw Man. I don't see the hype. He like for me, like he just seems like a diet ghostwriter for me.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, in my opinion, there's like a lot of parallels between Chainsaw Man and Ghost Rider. Like they're both demon hunters. They both kind of do demon slaying type of stuff. But this is a good speculation book because it seems a lot of people are like really, really into it. It took off really, really strong. So that's like a really good investment piece in my opinion,
Yeah.
for speculation.
Yeah, dude, 78 points of articulation. He highlighted um a Chainsaw Man action figure on his show on Saturday, and I think for me, I just like the art. I don't watch the show, but it definitely has me interested in like at least giving it a shot. And so I think
Mm,
for like my kind of taste in characters or whatnot. And again, I don't know anything about Chainsaw Man. I just know of him, but it just keep me a little interested. But this is cool. I mean, again, like this is an amazing subject we're talking about today. I just had
Yeah,
zero knowledge about it. This is awesome.
yeah, it's a cheap book to spec on. I mean, if you got
Mhm.
$50, I mean, well, $70 to spend with shipping.
Yeah.
Um, so this one is a little bit interesting because I don't know if many people know Kininku Man slash Ultimate Muscle. Um, it was it's a really popular anime about wrestling. And when I was a kid, I know that Ultimate Muscle was like really popular. They showed it on the Fox box for a while, and they did a game for a Nintendo GameCube, and it was created by the legendary developers who did WCW versus NWO Revenge, and they did the No Mercy games that were really popular back in the day.
Yeah.
So you know, a lot of these sets um, go out of print, and sometimes they're not reprinted ever again, or if they
Mhm.
are, it's like years before you could ever see a reprint. So as you could see, you know, the set volume 1 through 29, and it was missing volume 9, and it sold for like $1,500. Best
So
offer.
sorry, I'm just really interested in this. Are there so when there's like, for example, you're talking about first and second editions, like
Mhm,
comics, first edition or
mhm.
first print, second print, third, or whatever. Is there a way to distinguish between a first and second print in these?
Um, I don't you know, for sets, it doesn't really matter for collectors.
Hmm.
I think that they just want the book, right? Because a lot of the times they do like really large print runs, and then they go okay, and then they just never revisit them again. And so it's like whatever's out there is whatever's out there
So this
for the most part.
So like manga, like it sounds to me, and I just from my friends that do manga that are younger or like older or same age as me, like it's a real like organic, like I really like this property. I don't really care how
Mhm,
much I'm not worried
mhm,
about flipping it, quote unquote.
mhm.
But it's like people that really resonate an organic kind of love for the
Yeah,
characters. It's
exactly.
really cool.
'Cause so as you can see, like even like number
Yeah,
9, you know, like it's $300, you know, that's like the baseline of like,
right.
you know, and I'm pretty sure like number 9 is rare because it wasn't printed that much because number 9 seems to be missing from everybody's set. You know,
Hmm.
number 9 is like a hard one to get. Not too sure. I've never looked into why number 9 is coveted, but $300 for like you know, so I mean, let's just say you spent 1,500 on the set, and then you bought number 9 to go with it. That's nearly two grand to complete a set. So you,
Yeah.
like that just shows you like the cult following that Ultimate Muscle has, and actually, it's getting a new series. You know, it's coming out with a new series.
No, that's just like I know
It's
Muscle Man like a little bit, but it's like you said, it's crazy that someone wants a stack of 9 or 29 books for 4 figures. That's a lot of dough.
it
Uh,
is
yeah. How much is how much does one of these cost like just newsstand price like off the shelf?
9.99, 9.99.
See, man, that's like, and it's good art, it's good story, it's good. You're getting good product for $10.
So this is the big boy of like the uh so Vagabond. I can't pronounce the guy's name. I think it's Inoue. So the guy who did this, he's like fucking god, you know,
Hmm.
in the manga world. He did Slam Dunk. I think he did Slam Dunk or Rebound. Like I get the names confused, but he did Slam Dunk or Rebound, one of those. And he did Vagabond. Um, he also did a really good manga about wheelchair basketball that was very emotional, very good, and it's called Real, Real, and it's fantastic. It was a really good read. So Vagabond is kind of like it's legendary. Like if you're really into manga, you know Vagabond, you know the artist. Like he just has like a specific style that no matter where you go, you look, you go, oh, like I know who that guy is.
Uh-huh.
Um, I should probably learn how to pronounce his name though. But
It's all good.
but as you can see, like the complete set sold for 5 grand. 5 grand.
Man.
You know, so a lot of his stuff falls out of print very, very frequently. I know I go to Kinokuniya and they have a lot of his work. But it's really hard to get, you know, people are always asking for it. They go in, you have Vagabond? No. And it's a hard book to get. Like Barnes and Nobles, Kinokuniya, anywhere. It's hard to get. And so this is like the first series because they
Okay.
started doing compendiums or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So as you can see, he has them back there, but I think he was selling the floppies and, you know, 5 grand, you know, because they don't even do the floppies anymore. They just do like the big boys now. So
What
5 grand.
what's a floppy? I'm asking
Like just like
all these
just like
fucking rookie questions like what the hell? Like
just like the trade paperback, like you
Okay.
know the thin trades. So
Well, sorry, one more question. You mentioned Barnes and Noble because like only place I know to get anything is either online. Trey's mentioned you can read them online for free as well.
yeah,
But
you
but
can
I
you can.
like the paper, you know. You can get them at Barnes and Noble though as well.
I would say I used to go to like a lot of manga specialty shops, but
Hmm.
with the popularity of manga and
Hmm.
anime and stuff like that, I kind of stay away from those places because those places tend to be the most crowded. Not trying to be like an elitist or anything like that.
No, yeah,
I
yeah.
just it's way too crowded, and now we're at the point where everything is out of stock. Every number one is out. Every you know like you can't even buy a complete set anymore in like a lot of these specialty shops. But I think Barnes and Noble is such a juggernaut that like they have every book, every volume, no matter what. Like they
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah,
Like
they have to too because like they're losing out to Amazon, so they have to have like
yeah, they're
if
unfuckable when it comes to manga. Like, and it's empty when you go there. I'm like,
yeah, no, I
shit.
love it. I freaking love
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble now, dude. I get there when you know we always talk about magazine spec. I'm always looking for the Sports Illustrated at Barnes and Noble because no one's fucking there,
No,
man. And like you know, no
no.
one. It's nice, quiet. You
New
know,
York City, we
huge.
have like Barnes and Nobles with like four levels, and
I've been to
it's
it. Yeah,
you've been to it,
yeah, I've been
yeah,
to it.
and they
Yeah.
have like an entire floor just for manga. So
Hmm.
and no one's ever there, and they even have out of print books. So
Wow,
it's yeah. I
that's some
was
low hanging
looking,
fruit for everybody that's just curious
yeah.
about manga spec and all that stuff. I mean, that's why we do the
Yeah,
show. So
so go to Barnes and Nobles. Like if anybody's watching this, don't go to these specialty shops. It's always gonna be crowded. You're always gonna fight a line. They might not have what you want. Go, trust me, go to Barnes and Nobles. You will thank me later. Especially if you're looking like if you could hedge your bets, you could try and
yeah,
take a chance. I was trying to read this book that's called I Am Hero. It's out of print.
yeah,
And
fuck yeah,
yeah, you know I Am Hero, and
yeah.
they had it there, and I was like, whoa, this shit is out of print.
Okay.
But yeah, so moving on to like Pokemon now. I'm a vintage guy. I'm not an I don't know a lot about modern cards. Um, but you know, I know a lot about modern cards, but I don't know as much about vintage cards. So
Mhm.
today, like I kind of wanted to highlight some, you know, some cards that people might not know about. You know, I kind of wanted to stay. I was not going to include Charizard in this one, but you know, I kind of did because you got to include them.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is Gengar. So this is like the Grail for like most collectors.
Right.
Honestly, like this is the Masaki Gengar variant. There's two different versions of this card. There's one with like an e-reader barcode on it, and then there's this one. So the reason why this one is a big deal is because it came out of a vending machine. And so you would put your quarters in like the vending machine or whatever, and one card would come out. And this was
Yes.
kind of yeah. So this
I
was the
remember
big
that.
hit of the vending machine. Like this was like the rare card that you had to get. But this was like so long ago that, you know, whoever has that card now is kind of like there's not many. Um
Dude, when
so the
you
what?
sorry to cut you off because I remember you sending me this like a while back, or maybe it was recently.
Mhm.
I don't know. And I was thinking about it because I used to work at Toys R Us
Mhm.
when Pokemon first came out, and I fucking hated Pokemon because all these freaking moms would come in and they want anything Pokemon, fucking erasers, like fucking pencil bags, all that stuff, right? But I remember this was one of those vending machine, like, we had a vending machine there. You put in like a quarter or whatever, and like these cards come out, but they weren't sealed. They were just like three cards that would come out, right?
Nah, I don't know how Japan did it, but I know
Uh-huh.
like you would just like push it and then you
Uh-huh.
pull it out and then like a little cardboard would come out, then you would open it and then the card would be in it. So
Oh, okay.
I would assume a lot of them got damaged somehow.
Got cats or pissed off each other. Sorry, man.
But yeah, so so Japan, I don't know how Japan did it, but this is like a promo vending machine card. Like the last PSA 10 sold for 16,000.
Man.
And here's the crazy part: if you bought this card in 2016, a PSA 10 was
Oh
$300.
my god.
Yeah, yeah. So that's crazy.
That is so crazy.
It's been on a crazy rise right now. Um, in 7 years, it went from 300 to $16,000. Like insane growth.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's slowing down because now a lot of people really want this card. I've seen raws in like nice condition go for like are being sold on eBay for like 400 to 500. If you want to, take a chance, you get a PSA 9, you
That's
probably
not a
double
bad
your
it's not a
money.
bad
No,
flip, man,
no,
honestly.
it's not.
No.
It really isn't. So, Gengar is kind of like he's goated. He's like a popular Pokemon and
It
like the
really is.
GOATs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to put him on this so you could hit us with
No,
the next
that's
card.
freaking awesome. I mean, like, obviously our passion of comic books first came here, right? That or why
Mhm.
we were talking today. But like, if you're spent like I spent $300 on a Taskmaster 3, 1 in 25. I would rather have bought this in like a high grade raw. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, well, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here because now you can roll it up. So funny story about this one. A friend of mine, he had like a binder full of Pokemon cards, and he was just like, "Oh, can you look through my cards? Maybe I have something worth something." So I
Yeah.
come over to his house, and I see this card, and I'm like, "Well, I know this one, but I've never seen the Japanese one." And then I seen like the whole thing was hollow, and I'm like, "Bro, you sure this is real?" And then he was like, "Yeah, I pulled it from a pack." So we did some research on it, and it turned out that it was like a real card. And the Japanese one is the one that goes crazy. That's the one that everybody wants. And this is kind of like a Grail Gyarados card, kind
Mhm.
of. We'll
Mhm.
get to like the Grail Gyarados in a second. But Shining Gyarados, like this is if you want to get a Shining Gyarados, you want to get because the whole card is shining. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
see that the
It's cool.
hollow is printed all over the card.
Mhm.
The last PSA 10 went for 5 grand. If you bought this card in 2019, a PSA 10 was $450. But the pandemic price was $7,800. I don't know what the hell the pandemic did to this card, but obviously it went back down. Uh, it went down pretty hard. So to the fellow who bought this for 7,800, rest in peace, bro. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, bro. So um, obviously this is the Skyridge set is a goated set. Like a lot of collectors really love Skyridge. Um, they got the Skyridge Charizard. This is kind of like one of the more coveted Charizard cards out there. So I'm gonna get into a little bit more details with this card. So a PSA 10 sold for $10,400, and then the pop report for the PSA 10 is there's 224 PSA 10s on the market,
Mhm.
and PSA 9s there's 253, and the total graded cards are 861. So um, if you're trying to get a PSA 10,
Mhm.
just know that if you invest, it's a safe investment if you spend 10 grand because there's only 200 PSA 10s. So I know a lot of people like to collect modern, but this
Uh,
is kind of like some of the advantages for vintage because whatever's out there is out there, and when you get like a really like a low end card, not a low end card, but like a high end card at a PSA 10, there's a good chance that the pop on the PSA 10 is going to be low unless obviously you get base set Charizard. But so Skyridge Charizard is like this is the one that people always go crazy for.
why is
Uh,
Skyridge a such coveted set?
Uh, it was because it came like at a time where like kind of not many people were like really, really into the hobby as much anymore.
Hmm.
So once you start getting into like 2003 to kind of like 2008 area, they weren't printing as much cards because Yugi
Okay.
Oh was taking over and everybody was running to Yugi Oh.
And kids were
So
growing up and stopped playing Pokemon, right?
yeah,
That
and then they
kind of
started
thing.
playing
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! So, they weren't printing as much, and
Hmm.
then when you factor in, like, all these, they weren't printing as much, the people that did buy it were, kids throwing it away
Yeah.
and things of
Not
that
thinking it was
nature.
going to be worth
Exactly.
10K in
Mhm.
2023, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
how what I thought about Pokemon. I figured Magic would stay kind of the course because like when I was playing Magic when I was like, 14, 15, 16, I was playing against like 40-year-old dudes. And so I legit was like, okay, this hobby's gonna stay because like the Dungeons and Dragons dudes, like Dungeons D&D was like done, like it was dead. And so
Mhm,
everyone started playing games and like everyone a beta, alpha, unlimited were always the sets that everyone wanted, right?
mhm.
Um, and so I knew I had a good foundation of the game. And it was like the other thing too about Magic, and I think with Pokemon now too, or just continuing, um, Magic would make a game and then or a card, and then they would restrict it, and so it's like done. You can't ever use that card again. No, so now it's collectible, or you just play privately or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Um, and with Pokemon, it was like they always would make a new Charizard, so it always made like the next set more collectible. But obviously,
Yeah.
like I felt at the time, like kids stopped playing Pokemon because they were getting older, and they were like, "Oh, I'm not gonna play this kiddie game. I'm like 21 years old." But then
I
they,
think
you
people
know,
moved to Yu-Gi-Oh! 'Cause it was kind of like a more
okay,
mature, kinda like, the
Pokemon,
art was more mature, the
sure,
themes were more mature, so I think that's kind of where Pokemon kinda declined a little bit, but
okay,
they were still massively relevant.
gotcha, good stuff, man.
So this is the Pokemon Gold Star EX Dragon Frontiers. This card goes crazy. So a PSA 10 sold for these are some sales. So April 18th, 2023, one sold for 17,000. In March 26th, 2023, one sold for $23,000. Now, population report, 98 PSA 10s on the market. So, you know, that's crazy. Like 98. PSA 9s, there's 488, and total graded, there's about 2,500 total graded. So PSA 10, extremely hard to get. I think even I've seen some raws, people trying to sell like raws for like 1,000. It's ridiculous. Like this card is again one of those cards from one of these sets at a time where the hobby was in a bit of a lull. Like
Mhm.
nothing was really going on, and not people were many people were into it. So not a lot of people were running out and buying these, so they weren't printing as much. But this is kind of like more of one of the more coveted Charizard cards.
Mm,
Um, I would put it underneath the base set Shadowless Charizard in terms of like how much, yeah, like people really want it and the rarity and things like that. And it's like a all black, like shiny Charizard. Like it's a sick card,
mhm.
So that's pretty much what I gotta say. I don't know if anybody in the chat recognizes this card or
I don't.
no.
No, this is cool.
So all right, so this is one that I'm excited to talk about, and this is kind of what I call the Infinity Stones of Pokemon cards. So these, yeah, so these are the rarest cards you could quite possibly imagine in the hobby, like
Sick.
rarest. Yeah. I'm not gonna have time to cover all of them, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight some of the ones that we do know. So these cards were it was a promo for Pokemon Snap for N64. So the way the contest worked was that you take a picture in game and
Mhm.
you send it to the Pokemon company, and the best pictures got their cards printed on a Pokemon card. And they got 20 copies, 15 copies, 10 copies, however, whatever the winners. So these cards that you see in the slide are the winners. It's like you got the Bulbasaur, you got the Poliwag, you got the Magikarp, the Gyarados. So that's the Grail Gyarados that I was talking about. The Pikachu, Coughing, Charmander, Squirtle, Articuno, Chansey. So if you could take us to the next slide, you could see like
Yeah.
how crazy rare it is.
Jesus Christ.
So the Pikachu Snap, 20 of these have been printed, right? An
Okay.
ungraded card, ungraded, sold for $300,000. You have to understand, like, these cards are so rare.
Uh-huh.
PSA and Beckett, they don't
Hey,
even want to touch them.
seriously?
Yeah, it's hard to get them graded. They don't. There's no information about it. It's hard for PSA to like authenticate it because it could be fake. Like, it's
Okay.
so rare that all of them have never been seen in one picture together.
Okay. Rewind real quick for me. What is Pokemon Snap?
So Pokemon Snap is a game where essentially you ride around and you're a photographer and you just take pictures of Pokemon in a safari. And it was for N64. It was a really hot game
Uh-huh.
back then. It was really innovative for its time because there wasn't really a game where you're a photographer that I know
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
So that was like the contest. Like you would take a picture in game, send it to Pokemon, and then the Pokemon company would choose winners. So, a lot of these cards is yeah, this is more expensive than a diploma.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you look at like these are the rarest.
Yeah.
They've never been on the same table together. Like that's how rare.
Oh
So
my God.
this is the Charmander Snap, 15 copies printed. The last sale was in Japan for $100,000. And so obviously like this is like a nice this is a nice picture.
It's
I
dope, man, for
I
sure.
think it's better than the Pikachu one. So this is the Gyarados Snap, 20 copies. The last sale was 50K. And
Jesus
the
Christ.
so there was a documentary, a YouTuber did a documentary on his journey to get this card specifically, and he was able to get it authenticated by Beckett,
Oh,
and they
sick.
graded it. So you see the whole grading process. Somebody comes with them to authenticate the card and everything. So it's a really neat documentary that you should probably
Sure.
YouTube. Um, and then we could go to the next slide. Uh, so this is one of my favorite Pokemon. I have a tattoo of Magikarp. So this was the Pokemon Snap Magikarp, 20 copies. So the last sale went for $130,000, making this the most expensive Magikarp card on the market. So that's it. And now we're going
Dude,
to
hell yeah. I love that
yeah.
game.
So we're just gonna talk a little bit about sealed games. I know Ferd likes Final Fantasy, so I kind of just wanted to like talk about some one of my favorite games. I love Max Payne. Max Payne was really instrumental for PlayStation for PlayStation 2. It was made by Rockstar, and this was back when like Rockstar was on fire.
Yeah.
GTA,
Yeah.
GTA was on fire, and I think that sealed, it's $200, and it did a lot for action games. It was like the first game to implement bullet time, like slow motion. It was very neo noir action. Um, so he's still like a beloved character. I know recently he fell off because the last one wasn't that good, but $200 for a sealed a copy of Max Payne. I
And
think it's
PS2, dude. Yeah,
yeah.
PS2 one, which I feel like kids that played PS2, that was like their first, like my first
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation was PS1, right?
Mm.
But kids now that are like your age or maybe a little bit younger, like their first PlayStation was PS2. And so I
Mm.
feel like that next nostalgia like generation is starting to come about,
Yeah, for
in my
sure.
opinion.
And I feel like, Max Payne is he's kind of like a pop culture, like a little bit of pop culture. Like we had Marky Mark play him in the movie.
Mhm.
Mark Wahlberg, Mila Kunis was in the movie. So I could definitely see Rockstar like revisiting that property sometime in the
Yeah.
future. So
Yeah.
I think $200 is it's a steal.
Yeah,
I know that
especially
there's a
field, man. Fuck.
Game Boy Advance version of Max Payne that goes
Mhm.
for like a lot of money, but it wasn't enough information on me to put for me to put it on there. But I
No,
know
this is
like
awesome.
the Game Boy one goes for a good amount too. But so Parasite Eve, uh, so Square Enix. As I know you're a Final Fantasy guy, so I wanted
Oh,
to
yeah?
put Parasite Eve on this. Square Enix has like a lot of properties that kind of no one talks about. Not that no one talks about, but they don't acknowledge. And I
Mhm.
think Parasite Eve is one of those properties that's like really dormant. And I feel like that if it came back in any way, it could be, it could be like a good resurgence. Now, I mean, you got Parasite Eve sealed $179. Crazy, bro. And then you got the greatest hits, $150 sealed. Bro, like these prices are like ridiculously low for such a game that, you know, it was a novel. It was one of the first Japanese horror novels to be really big.
Mhm.
And then it became a movie in Japan. The movie wasn't that good, but Square Enix was, at that time they were like bankrolling in money, and
Yeah.
they were just approving projects left and right.
Yeah.
Uh, so they did something really experimental with this. They took a risk, and it paid off for them because it's a cult classic. Um, and a lot of people still really like it. I know Bring Me the Horizon did a song based off of the game.
Hmm.
Um, so there's a lot of people really interested in it. There's a lot of like, more celebrities that kind of know of it. And a WADA 8.5 sold for like 1,300. I think that, when they do remake it, I think that it could be a big deal. So
Um, yeah, I did my first foray into graded games, like just buying it outright. I got a Miles Morales PS4 9.8 CGC.
mhm.
I don't do WADA personally. Um,
I don't really know too much about the grading
yeah.
companies.
Oh, and just saying, I think just because I don't like the because I bought it just because I'm a collector. I was trying to flip
Mhm.
it, and I just thought it was a good property to have versus a UF4. 9.8 cares about that book. Um,
Yeah,
I mean,
125.
yeah, you're right. Zen Master with the Atari 2500, 2600. But what was I gonna say? I like the case CGC has. It's
Did you see
clean.
grades games?
Oh yeah. They just started doing that.
They grade in everything now.
I mean, might as well, right? They're
I
some
saw that
people
they're grading
don't have as much
pops.
comics. What's that?
I saw that they're grading pops.
I didn't know about that, but I
Yeah, I
mean, that
saw that
would
they were
make
grading
sense, right?
Funkos.
I don't know why no one hasn't jumped on that property yet, but um, so I want to say they may. I could see them grading records and vinyl or vinyls and CDs soon too. I don't.
I know they do concert posters.
Yeah, posters are weird, man. Like I couldn't imagine like collecting like multiple graded posters, but it would make the most sense because it's the easiest thing to hang up and present, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So,
I know
but
my girlfriend, she goes to a lot of concerts and like she's like a photographer.
yeah,
So she collects all the concert posters that
that's
she
cool,
has
man.
from the events that she works.
Yeah.
So it might not be a bad idea to get those
Oh hell
graded.
yeah, because they're free and like it's like who messes with a concert poster? Like who keeps it all rolled up and like put it like in a case? Like no one does that. You know what I mean?
No,
So
no, no, actually they don't. So I mean, if
yeah,
she could get some of those signed, that would be pretty good.
yeah.
Um, Persona. Persona is a super, super hot property, man. Persona 5 was recently, it was a huge when it came out, and then they re-released the game Persona 5 Gold, and then
Mhm.
that one sold like a re-release of a game, and then they charged more for it, and people still paid for it, I think.
Huh.
Um, so this is Persona 2. The thing with Atlas games are like very, very underprinted, and Atlas as a company has such a cult following of hardcore fans that just love their RPGs. So $400, and this game isn't even like, it's not even sealed or anything like that. So
Yeah, CIB.
yeah, so I don't know if there's even any. I've never seen a sealed one sold, but I'm pretty sure it would go for like triple or quadruple this if there was like ever a sealed one. Um, so and these are like some games that you could find in the wild that people really don't know too much about. Unless you go to like a retro specialty store where
Yeah,
people really know.
there's a
But
lot
there's
there
like,
here.
yeah. So, but there's like a lot of game stores that I've been to that sold vintage games, and they were selling like Persona 2 for like 50 bucks, 50, 60 bucks, just because they
Yeah.
didn't know what it was. But yeah, man. So I don't know if there's any there's no slide after this.
No, this is I wish there was, but no, man. You
No.
like you fucking sorry, man. Like I was really excited for this show today. I know we wouldn't have a huge turnout just because it's Mother's Day, but I still was like I still want to do it.
No, yeah, for sure. Why
Um
not?
I really like I might as well have just been like an audience member in the chat today because I had
Uh,
like very little, like knowledge about what you honestly, man, like I consider you like a major expert, especially not because just like the subject of manga, but like it's such a different the viewing of it, the consumption of it is so different like for what you how you consume it versus how I
yeah.
consumed it back in the day. It was a chore, but it was more of like a treat also, for me. Whereas now but I still it's I feel like it's and we've talked about this and I've talked about this on other shows, other forums, whatever. Um, it's a growing segment that I think will be could take over comic books in 5 to 10 years just
Yeah.
because of everything going on. Like it just seems there's more freedom to do whatever you want to do, whether that
Mhm.
be like One Punch Man, or One Punch, not One Punch Man, but One Punch. It's like kind of a kiddie, like fun kind of following, but there's a lot of people that still like it. And then there's like Demon Slayer, which is kind of my forte. And there's
Mhm.
no like restrictions on like what they can write about, who they need to represent, whatever representation, whatever it is. I know it's an ongoing like debate, and like I don't really want
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
into
for
that,
sure.
but it just seems like it holds writers back. I think that's what where
Mhm.
the real root of the negativity is towards it. Is it holds writers back and forces them to do something they don't really want to do. But manga seems just so free and open, and in the consumption of it, I feel like it's gaining more followers, especially younger kids. So
Yeah, I think that the marketing is kind of what makes people like it more. And I think that you know, for me, uh, I feel like obviously there's like a lot of stories out there for like manga and things like that. Like
mhm,
there's ones that talk about some topical themes, that we talk about in comics as well. And like there's something for everybody, in manga, whether I mean, there's LGBTQ stuff, so like if you kind of want that niche of like, you know, political stuff, they have that, and then if you want to read something that's like crazy and out there and just no filter, they have that.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of like what the essence is like it's
mhm,
so culturally ingrained into Japanese culture, and that's what helped propelled it. It's because they embraced it.
mhm,
And in America, we stood for like the last I don't know how long, saying like, oh, like this stuff is for nerds, this stuff is for losers. Like, oh, you're reading that? You're such a kid. And I think that's kind of what hurt comics, for such a long time, because it was seen as a stigma. If like if you read comics, you were considered a dweeb. But
Mhm.
Japanese people, it's kind of like, all right, whatever, you read that,
Yeah, we don't
it's
care.
cool.
It doesn't affect
Yeah,
me. Like
yeah.
Japanese culture is so like it's a very welcoming culture, and they're like everything's like very detailed, and they really think about things, and they have themes that really work.
Mhm.
Um and it's not and it's what's so new about it is that I remember growing up, like there was always that like parental advisory sticker on like all the anime because it was like very
Yeah,
violent, but it was a
yeah,
cartoon.
yeah.
And like here growing up, like my parents didn't really like know because like I mean I'm Filipino parent first generation, so they didn't really like care what I watched or didn't think anything like, oh, he's gonna like do something bad because he's watching these like ninja shows or whatever. Um but but the fact that they allowed that in a medium that is mostly seen as like cartoonish, like happy, like whatever, it kind of took away from um like the art of it and the violence that you can see in, because at the end of the day it's not real, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
and it made it more interesting and more fun to consume as well. So
I
um
think Marvel and DC should really, the one thing that I would say I worry about manga is I speak to a lot, because I read both, like, a lot. I consume both, and
mhm,
I think that a lot of people criticize comics because they're like, "Oh, Spider-Man's like 1,000 issues," or like, like how, I don't even know where to start. That's why I don't read it. And then you have like Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, and they've been around for like so long.
mhm,
So I'm wondering, if they're going to get to a point where, shonen is just going to be so much where they're going to hit that wall, that because a lot of people compare it, they like to try to make the comparison, but I don't think that they're comparable, because we have characters that have been around for like 100, nearly 100 years, 80 years,
yeah,
where, we have Dragon Ball Z's been out for 40 years.
mhm,
So I'm wondering like when it, and they're written by the same people.
mhm,
It's not how we have, three different people doing Spider-Man over the
yeah,
course of like, it's just one guy.
yeah,
So I'm wondering like, how is this, how is it gonna all shake out? Are people gonna be like, oh man, Dragon Ball Z, like it's, like do something different, so
mhm,
I don't know.
yeah. I
But
think
I will say that again.
Oh, sorry. I think the thing with Dragon Ball Z that I think that's kept it kind of going, for a long
Mhm,
time is like when I was watching Dragon Ball Z, Goku was at like Super Saiyan stage 1. And when I got back into watching it again, like Trunks was the new guy. Like he was the
mhm,
badass. And so it's always in like an evolving kind of like the main character, you know, his story always continuously evolves. At the end of the day, he's just trying to get his ass kicked. He gets his ass kicked hella hard, and then he comes back from the depths and goes to the next level. So it's like it has that like kind of he's trying to get to this level. So there's like a goal, like kind of the end of a
yeah,
video game, right? Whereas like I think with comics is like Superman, for example. I think it's kind of a bad and good thing about it, right? Like Superman is an American hero, quote unquote, right? Like
mhm,
he's America personified, right? So I think what writers think is like, oh, I have to make Superman be current events. And so current events always change, right? But
mhm,
I think why I loved Superman when I was a kid was because like his at the time when he was being written, he was always like no one could ever beat Superman. And I think that's more of like how can Superman relate to the reader versus like how can Superman just be Superman? And I don't know that for old school characters, like it just seems like they changed the goal for Superman too much versus like Goku. he's trying to get Super Saiyan level 4. It's taken him like a million years to get there or whatever. But
Yeah,
you know what I'm
that's the
saying?
thing
I
that
don't know. It's hard to
I
explain.
just wasn't. That's the thing with shonen for me. Like, I'm not a huge fan of shonen, just mainly because like for me, I feel like I've consumed a lot of the same story for like since I was a little kid. Like, okay, like there's this guy, he's the black sheep, he's weak, he's gonna power level up, and he's gonna be the strongest. You
Mhm.
know, so for me, like I've seen it done 100 times over.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm more like,
Yeah.
like I get it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I know how this story is. But what's interesting is like I'm always interested in seeing like how they could reinvent that same story.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a few like My Hero. It was My Hero Academia. It was like a perfect blend of East meets West. And I thought that was pretty neat. Uh, there's a few outliers here and there. Um, but for me, like I don't know, like I feel like Dragon Ball Z for me is like I already know Goku's gonna get his ass beat. He's gonna
Yeah.
get a new form.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna come back. I'm the new badass. Then
Yeah.
Goku's gonna reach a new form. So I'm like wondering, you know, how are how the evolution of shonen, like how like if they're gonna do something different and stay away from these like power levels and this power scaling, like because at some point they got to reinvent it.
Sure.
And a lot of these writers are like getting old. So
Yeah.
recently, the creator of Berserk, he passed away.
Mhm.
And for the first time, not for the first time, I don't really know if this is the first time, but this is the first time I've heard of it. They're getting a new writer to continue the series.
Hmm.
So this is kind of like uncharted territories
Mhm.
as far as manga is concerned. So this is like, so I'm excited because I come from like the Western comic world
Yeah.
where it's more of, we get new writers all the time.
Yeah.
So I want to see, because his best friend is also a writer, and he has his own manga, and it wasn't as successful, but he's written some absolute bangers that I
Mhm.
suggest people. He's written something called Suicide Island, which the
Mhm.
synopsis is, it's kind of political in the sense of Japan has like a high suicide rate, and these kids are committing suicide. So then when they go to the hospital, they're like, "Hey man, like you committed suicide. Like, do you want to end your life? Yes or no?" And then you decide, like, "Yeah, I don't want to live anymore. Sign this waiver." And then they got all these kids. They put them on an island, and then they're like, "Okay, we're just gonna leave you there." And it's crazy, like what the main character goes through, what
Yeah.
these like people go through, and so it's it's pretty crazy. Like, and then he did another one called Holy Land, and that was about some kid who gets bullied in school finds a book that teaches you how to box, and he learns a basic jab cross, and he starts beating up his bullies, and then he beats up the wrong guy, and now he has like a gang that's like looking to like take his head off. So um I'm excited to see what his best friend, because he's honoring his
Mhm.
the death of his friend.
Yeah.
And so now everybody's excited because now we're like, oh, this is kind of weird and sexy, like
Yeah.
new writer. So
Yeah.
like what's gonna happen?
I think
Um,
I think like for comics to kind of grow and get like a 15 to 14-year-old kid excited to buy comics again, I think they really need to delve in. It doesn't have to be Marvel or DC. It could be an independent company. And they need to hire either a Japanese or a manga style like artist and writer and just put out like an online like it'd take a lot of money. I know this is just like conceptual or whatever, but like, and then you just need to like pump out stories and just give it out free online
I
and
think
just
I
let
think
people read it. And
I know they
then,
did one with Deadpool.
oh, I'm just talking like a brand new, just
Oh
like
yeah, for
publishing
sure, for sure.
company. You know what I mean? And then like, and then see what people like from the readership of that story online, and then maybe put out like a 500 copy like hard copy of it or whatever, just to kind of get people in it or just get that generation back into the hobby. Because I think that's where the growth is, and it's just odd to me that like I've talked about this book in nauseum, but Swordmaster is like the closest manga book I've read in the big two in a very long time. I think there was like that monkey dude. I forgot his name in DC, but I just thought
The Monkey King.
it was okay. Like it was cool how they kind of incorporated like Batman, but then they ended it. So it's like, I mean, they ended Swordmaster's run lately too. But anyway, that's just I'm gonna close you with this one more story, and then I'll draw the winners for the giveaway today. Do you know why Final Fantasy is called Final Fantasy?
I think that was like, I think they were about to go bankrupt, right?
Yeah,
Or
they're about to go
something.
bankrupt, and they were like, "This is the last game we're ever gonna do. We might as well just put it out." And it was like their most successful game ever, and so that's why they've done so many different titles ever since then. I just thought, like, in my deep dive of being a fanboy of Final Fantasy VII, but just like the whole company in general, I thought that was like imagine that last game being like they're like that they were done, you know, and we never got Final Fantasy VII. I may not be talking to like half the people I talked to today. That's just stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, we wouldn't get Parasite Eve.
You wouldn't get any of that's right. So it's just kind of funny to think about. But,
could you, if we never got, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like Final Fantasy like influenced so much of like a lot of the games that we play now, a lot of the comics that we read, a lot of the manga that's being put out.
Yeah,
a lot of
there's like been no like huge like they had that movie
Advent Children.
But I thought it was like a little too soon for the property. But I don't know if they could do Final Fantasy VII like movie. They might do an animated one, but I don't know. It'd be tough. But it's so funny because like you said, like I think that's a top 3-5 game for PlayStation, right? But they've never done a movie. They never hinted at it.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. Now that Mario,
right?
It was mediocre, but people loved it. But it's off to the races. It's off to the races. You're gonna see.
I know. It's so funny.
Activision announced that they were doing a Crash Bandicoot game, and I'm like, Crash Bandicoot movie, and I'm like, do we really need? I mean, I guess you could do it, but
Sonic did pretty good too for Sega Genesis.
It was awful. That movie, Sonic movie was awful, but people loved it
though, man. So
yeah, I feel like we're gonna see a lot of stuff, like a lot of video game movies within like the next 10 years.
Gran Turismo is coming out too, which that
looks interesting.
Yeah.
That looks interesting.
Yeah.
I think Disney acknowledged, they're like, oh, we like what you're doing over there. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Disney could put out a Kingdom Hearts movie.
Oh, bro, you're talking about all the good games.
if Disney did a Kingdom Hearts movie, that would be crazy. But
put Will in this giveaway real quick. Let me I'll run this giveaway, and then we'll have our closing thoughts, and then
yeah, for sure.
We're gonna go.
Run the giveaway.
Giveaway time. I'm either gonna live it up, depending on where you guys are. I don't know if we have any international piece, but if you're international, I'll still do a giveaway. I'll do like a gift card for like PlayStation or something. But otherwise, I'll give you guys a choice either way. So here we go. Good luck, everyone, and thanks again for coming through. Thank you, FedoraCon, for coming through and just taking over the show today in a good way. That was awesome. But yeah, I really enjoyed the knowledge you dropped today, and it'll definitely. I did not see the teaser for Twisted Metal, but I heard about that. I haven't. And anyway, I can't personally speak for the Mario movie myself, but I did hear it was kind of mediocre from other people too. But it was still enjoyable.
I mean, just because it's mediocre doesn't mean like it wasn't. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Like it. I mean, not everything has to have a good story to be great, you know. So, I mean.
Well, Ken Shane, I think you are the winner today, my friend. Ken, if you're still in the chat, DM myself. I'll hook you up with the giveaway for Mother's Day today. Thanks for coming through and commenting, all that good stuff. We had a pretty good group today for being a holiday and all that stuff. But yeah, man, if you guys aren't following my homie FedoraCon, or if you just have questions about manga in general, which I probably hit him up with stuff at least once a week, or if not more.
Even if you're trying to read some good stuff, man.
Yeah, this was definitely like, I feel like this was a good balance today of like, oh, I want to get into the hobby. What's the good like content I can read? I want to get into collecting. What's a good price to pay for Pokemon, for manga, first appearances, or like I want to invest, or I want to flip, what should I look out for? Like, I think this hit every single like type of question people were having about manga and Pokemon. And bro, you just definitely killed it. I really appreciate you coming through, man. We are gonna try and make this like a monthly thing for sure. If people,
I'll
if
be
people
back
are down
next
for
month.
it. Yeah. So
Also, before I wanted to know like what the chat, if anybody heard of those the political trading cards.
Oh, I don't know if
Like listen, those political trading cards are hella funny. I don't know if there's a market for it, but I just wanted to let everybody in the chat know, like look it up. Decisions, it's called Decisions 2020 trading cards. It's hilarious. They have a George Bush rookie card.
Hold on, let me see if I can forward this. Oh, I can't forward it. Never mind. Yeah, we'll talk about it next time, man, for sure.
Yeah,
We'll
it
look
was
up some
so
of that
funny.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
would like that. That would probably be like a good thing to cover, just to look at like what I'm captivated by that niche
Yeah.
of political trading cards, like a Kim Jong Un like logo man with like the patch, like
Yeah. Yeah,
like
that would,
what the
or hair, or like fucking whatever, man. Hey, what's okay? We'll leave this because I kind of want to ask this too.
no, for sure.
What's one manga you could recommend to someone that wants to really just start like the hobby and maybe is like 30 to 40 years old, and just wants to read like a fun
A
manga,
really
and
like
maybe watch
fun
one
or like a
too?
really good story.
Really good story. I think
A
story
really
is
a really
nothing
really
can
good
beat a
story.
good story. You know what I mean? So either
Uh,
pick one to watch, and pick one to read.
okay, so if a good anime to watch, I don't really watch a lot of anime. I'm mostly like a reader.
Okay.
But I would say just to start, probably My Hero Academia. I think that's like a good entry level because it's a shonen, but it's not really like a shonen in the traditional sense because it's really influencing like a lot of like American superheroes. They make references to X-Men and things like that.
Okay.
Um, but for manga, I would say older people. I mean, since the Last of Us is like a really big show, I would say I Am Hero is really good. It's
Okay.
essentially about a dude with schizophrenia, and he's in the he's in like a zombie apocalypse,
Okay.
but he's completely unaware of what's going on
Okay. Cool.
to an extent. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. All right. I got him. All right. Sweet. Well, I appreciate you, man. Everyone have a great Sunday. It's hot out there, man. It's 70 degrees over here in Seattle. It's probably a lot hotter in New
I have
York,
a
but
sweater on.
you got sweat on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
just a bit windy.
okay, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, again, thanks again. Switch it up again a little bit on Sunday, but I had a great time. Hope you all got some good info, and we'll see you next Sunday. Have a great week, and have a good everything else. We'll talk to
Yep, I'll see
you.
you guys.
All right, take care, everyone.